interview and conversation this morning. I'll go ahead and come on stage here, and I can't wait to talk about what we are going to talk about today. So again, good morning. Let's see. I had kind of I have a West Coast, East Coast week this week where I traveled back from a West Coast business trip and vacation type trip. So I mixed the two. So I'm just happy to be back, and I'm happy that you're joining us for Now Conversations. Hopefully by now all the live streams are up, and let's see how much you like meeting our guests. So I will bring her on stage. Before I do, I want to tell you about her. So her name is Jacquelyn Lynn. She is an author, a business writer, and a ghostwriter. If some of you know what ghostwriting is, we're going to dig into that a little bit more. But she has written or ghostwritten more than 45 books, including a book we're going to talk about today, The Christian Business Almanac. She believes that we shouldn't leave our faith at the door when we go to work, and that it's possible to build successful careers and businesses while living out our faith in the marketplace. So I 100% agree with that. As a ghostwriter, she works with business leaders to help them get their thoughts into words in a readable, understandable, and entertaining form that people will want to read. She partners with her husband, who is a photographer and videographer, video editor. His name is Jerry Clement, and they have a company, Tuscawilla Creative Services. Will give you all her contact information, and we'll give you her website, createteachandinspire.com. So there is so much more to learn about Jacquelyn. Let's go ahead and bring her on stage so you can meet her. Welcome. Happy Saturday morning,
Happy
Jacquelyn.
Saturday, Lisa. It's good to be here.
Thank you for joining us. When we meet with authors and talk with authors, we have a list of some standard questions that might come up, but I'm so excited to go off the script for this interview, because you have such a vast experience, a vast number of years in this industry, the publishing industry, that is changing all the time, that I really want to share the knowledge and wisdom that you have. So thank you for being here.
I really am glad to be here. Looking forward to getting into stuff. So let's get started.
All right, let's get started. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about how you got started. So I think it's always fascinating for those people that are on the fence. They want to be an author. They have that first book that they haven't yet finished writing and finished publishing. Could you talk about your very first book and how that came together?
My very first book, well, I always wanted to be a writer. Well, actually, I started out wanting to be an elephant, but when I got old enough to realize I couldn't be an elephant, I wanted to be a writer. I went to a writer's conference and listened very carefully to the instructors, and then went home, did exactly what they said, got assignments from magazines, and I was off and running. So I had been freelancing for magazines for a few years. And my very first book, someone who I had met very briefly at a party, was on a trip and saw my byline in the airline's in-flight magazine. And I came home one day, and on my answering machine, and yes, this was way back when we had answering machines with tapes in them, there's this message, and it said, "Hi, I don't know if you're who I think you are, but if you know who I am, would you please call me?" Now, how can you resist? I called him. I'm like, "Yeah, I know who you are. We met." And he says, "I was on this trip. I saw your name in this magazine. Was that you?" "Yes, it was." "Is this what you do?" "Yes." He says, "I need a writer." And I went in and met with him, and he had a few projects, and one of those projects was a book. And I told him candidly, I said, "Well, I haven't written a book, but I've written hundreds of magazine articles. So, I mean, surely a book is, can't be that hard." I mean, And actually, it can be, but if you're an organized writer, you can do it. I did it, and the literary agent who repped him turned me on. Had me go to work with another one of his clients. So, yeah, that's how it happened. But the difference there, I think, is that I enjoy the writing process. This is what I want to do. And so many people these days who want to write a book, what it is they have a message they want to get out there, but they don't necessarily want to be writers. Now, some of them do, and we can certainly talk to those, but then there are those who want to have a book out there, but they don't have the time or the skill to actually do it, and they need help with it. And that's where companies like yours and people like me come in.
Well, 100%. And we meet many authors that are, want to be authors, want to be published, that have a desire to want to write an amazing book. They have the desire to get their message out in the most beautiful way, but they're not trained. They don't have the skill, so what we'll commonly say is, give us the content. It's got to be authentic content. It's got to be the content coming from you. It's got to show your heart, show your message, show your experience that makes you believe the way you believe. Mm-hmm. Just download that. Then we have experienced and skilled and trained editors and writers. Exactly. And the goal is someone like you, the gold that you are, from my perspective as a business, as a book publisher, is that you have both the editing skills and the writing skills, and they don't always go together. They don't always come together in one person. So I'm sure that your clients know that and say, yes, that's why we work with Jacquelyn. It's in my experience, which is like 9 years now, we've started our 9th year. So you can only imagine how many, titles and how many editors we've worked with and not worked with and fired and hired. It doesn't grow on trees, is what I say. Yeah. So I love that you using your skill for good and not evil. I'm just kidding.
Well, and even I did have one client ask me once years ago, because I'd finished, I think it was his second book, and he was getting ready to go on a book tour. And we were talking briefly before he was heading to the airport. And he says, doesn't it bother you that you did the work of crafting this book? And, nobody knows who you are. I'm getting all the attention. I'm going on the book tour. And I'm like, oh, no. I am sitting here at my computer. I'm in shorts and a T-shirt, no makeup. And I'm getting ready to write another book. I'm doing what I love. And you're doing what you love. And how much better can it be?
Fantastic. Well, fantastic. And we've worked with ghostwriters that, feel that same way. And what typically will happen is sometimes our clients become so in love with them, so to speak, so happy with what they produce, that there's usually an acknowledgement of their name somewhere in the text, or, so I'm sure you have that as well, because it really is an amazing skill to write a concise book. Our goal always for us, and I'm probably the same, is that someone can't put it down. That's exactly. The highest compliment we get is when I get a review, right? And they say, I stayed up all night. This book was so great. That is like $1 million check being written to me. I mean, honestly, right? And the whole team, I share it and we all go crazy. We did it. And that doesn't come easy. It takes the skill of someone like you to produce that.
And so, I do tell people, if you're looking for a ghostwriter, pick your 2 or 3 favorite books that are in the genre that you're writing in. Read the acknowledgments, because that's where you're going to see the ghostwriter's name. And it may not say ghostwriter.
I'd say editor.
It might say editorial assistant, whatever.
Yes.
But read between the lines and you can find out who that person is. And I've had people call me because they read the acknowledgments and found me that way.
I love that. I think that's such great advice. Fantastic. Well, let me ask you, so we both know that the industry for publishing is dynamic, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right? Always changing. Just when you think, okay, we got it. I remember when the Kindle, the 99-cent Kindle digital campaigns were the rage. Well, that was how many years ago, right? So whatever the next thing is, once you get it, you implement it. Now there's something else, right? And even social media platforms. Today, I was actually just this morning, I was watching something about how there are 100 outlets to publish your book, and I'm like 100. Like, I don't know 100. So now where are the rest? I need to dig in and do the research and find that out. But what would you, so that there are people like us in the industry that make it our business to stay up and to help our clients take advantage of the changes. What would you say is something, and just maybe in the last year, last 6 months, that you're helping your clients focus on that helps them keep the competitive edge or helps them stay with what is important in the industry for the clients that you work with?
The thing that I'm seeing recently is the shift in audiobooks and using AI for audiobooks. And, up until a couple of years ago, maybe even just a year ago, and this is how fast the industry is changing. What I would say to people is, if you're going to do an audiobook, they're very expensive to produce. You either need to hire a narrator, or you need to plan to spend a lot of time in the studio if you're going to narrate it yourself. And most people don't have a good voice for narrating books. But then you've got the editing and the whole process, and you can easily spend $3,000 to $5,000 producing an audiobook. And so if your print book isn't selling at least 25 copies a day, then you're not going to, it's going to be probably impossible for you to recoup that kind of investment. Well, now with AI, the voices have gotten so much better. You can even get on a platform and teach the AI to talk like you do. I'm working with a client now. I wrote his first book many years ago, and we are converting that using AI and his voice, because he's running a $250 million company. He cannot sit in the studio for a week and record the book. And besides, he stammers and stutters. So we need to clean that up. So he's got somebody on his team who's trained the AI, and now I'm just listening to the book and saying, okay, there's a little mistake here, go fix it. But to the casual listener, they're not going to know that that's not him. And it's amazing. That. And then there are, and I have not explored this yet, but there are AI platforms. If it's not important to you to have your book read in your voice, and for most authors, I don't think that's a big deal. There are the AI platforms, they sound really, really good. And yes, I hate that the human narrators are, people just aren't using them. It's just, but that's the way of the business and the technology.
Yeah, it's changed. So I have yet to use the AI audio. I have a client coming up that we're going to do it for. She has 5 books with us that we published. The first 2 we used what we call what you're calling a narrator. We call them we have a female voice talent that's a human, right? And we have a male voice talent. And what's fabulous about them is that they can actually change their voice to like 3 different samples. So it's really cool, right? Their files are beautiful. They can turn them around in a very short period of time. We've been using those for a long time, but what we have noticed is the trend about the last 3 years, more and more of our clients have said, you know what, I would like to record my own book. So along those lines, now we have a studio, and we can get in and get them out. I mean, depending on the word count, definitely within 8 hours, but we teach them. And then of course we do the editing and that. But so I'm sorry, I got off track for a moment. So we did her first 2 books with the female talent. She's going to record her next 2 books in October herself. And then we're going to do her 3rd book, which is a little different than a series book, in AI. So I'm very excited to use that. And, and I love that you said if your book is not selling 25 paperbacks a day, you need to move to the other outlets. And really, it's a given right now in the industry that books are not really selling in the paperback and hardback, is that they are selling the ebooks and the audiobook. There's no question. And there's still people that are in denial about it. I mean, yes, you should have your book in physical form, and we all love that, but actually the fastest sector is not.
Yeah.
So,
and you people are listening to audiobooks as they commute. And sometimes I think we have to get out of our comfort zone. I am not part of the market for audiobooks because I work from home. I don't commute. I don't listen to something while I'm doing something else. That's my lifestyle, but I'm not my audience. And that's something a lot of people have to remember, is that for most of us, whether we're authors or oftentimes in other roles, we are not always our audience. The other thing about audiobooks is that people, when they listen to them, they're listening to them at, sped up, at 2 times the speed. And, it's the chipmunks.
I'll do one time.
Yeah. So do you really care that you're hearing the author's voice if you're getting the author's message? And I think the authors need to come to terms with this, because they do get so in love with their book and their message, and so it's we do, as authors, we have to separate that emotion from the reality of what's happening in the marketplace, and it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's the separation for ego on anything, right, versus what is the purpose of it. And we're human, and so and a little bit of ego is okay. It's just when it takes first place, it's not good in anything. But oh my goodness, who would know we'd be talking about audiobooks? You know what I want to talk about is I really want to talk about the latest book that you have, because I happen to have my own copy.
There we go.
I already know there it is. My own copy in hand. And oh my goodness, Jacquelyn, it is so different from what I thought. I read the title, Christian Business Almanac. Love the title, love the branding. Of course, you're spot on with that, with the color and such, which is important to us book people. But I read today, September 27th, and I want you to explain it. I mean, I can explain it, but you're going to explain it better. Share with how this book came together and how wonderful this resource is.
Well, so the book came, the idea came many, many years ago to do a business almanac. And I was thinking of a book that would remind business owners, to file their estimated tax payments and plan their vacations and stuff like that. And at the time, I was doing a lot of books for entrepreneur publishing. I did, I think, 11 books in their business startup series. And I pitched this idea to them, and the publisher said, those books don't sell. We don't want to do it. And okay, and I let it sit. And several years ago, it started coming back. You know how God just sometimes the voice comes down out of the blue, and then sometimes he just nags you. So this was that little nag. You've got to come back and do something with this. And then finally, I heard him speak a little more clearly when he said, you need to do this book, but you need to make it my book. And I sat back and thought, okay, business almanac, how can I make this the Christian business almanac? So that's how it came about. So every page in the book, there's a page a day. And And this kind of goes against the trend in books because this book really works best as a paperback that you hold in your hand, a print book. There is an ebook version and people are enjoying the ebook version. It's not going to be an audiobook, I don't think. That could change.
Yeah, I think the format would be difficult, maybe. Yeah.
Because every day has a scripture, an inspirational thought, a little bit of history, a prayer prompt, and a short article designed to help you with your personal or professional growth.
I love that, like for today, first of all, I love the facts part of it. So one of my daughters is this Trivial Pursuit kind of, she'll win Jeopardy and all that. So we grow, you know, with being her mom and that we were always in it. And I feel like I'm a smarty pants just being her mom. And I love that you have, you know, today, the day is Ancestor Appreciation Day. So I love that I'm learning that. And then you talk about that. But you have, you know, some notes on, are you feeling overwhelmed? I mean, I think most everyone in this country can say that for all the different reasons there are, right? Yes, we are. You know, and then you have another article here for today that says, you know, be generous with your attention. And what I love about that is I highlighted where it's about active listening is really what you're saying here. And it's short, it's a couple paragraphs, but you make a very concise an important point, and you say 2 or 3 minutes of genuine attention is worth far more than 20 minutes of distracted interaction. And you know, I go back to the early on in my tech career, meeting a CEO and being just floored by how he had this thing called active listening, which I really didn't know at the time, but how it just stands out even today. And this is years and years ago. And really digging in and understanding what that is and understanding the value of that I know some people have never maybe experienced. Unfortunately, 20 minutes of distracted. But I have to congratulate you on this book, and I have to recommend this book to everyone. And I'm so excited to get through the whole year, a page at a time. It's just very unique and wonderful. And the scripture of the day, and like you said, you made this God's book, so we get both faith and business together.
And the idea of it too, because the pages are dated, but there's no year on it. So when you go through it and you get through it after the first year, start over, because those scriptures, those messages, they're going to hit you differently. They're going to speak to you differently. But let's put it that way. We're not kidding, but they'll speak to you differently. The advice in the articles, you may not need it the first time you read them. But next year, when you get to that day, there might be advice that you can use.
I think it's wonderful. I want to, so that there is your website, and we'll put that in the chat as well. But I thought also we should probably mention how we met, because it's an organization that we both really believe in and highly recommend. And that is the United States Christian Chamber of Commerce. Yes. We both know the president, and she was so great to connect us. And I've only been a member now within the year. Have you been, how long have you been a member?
Well, I'm a founding member of the U.S. Chamber because I've been a member of the Central Florida Christian Chamber for getting close to 10 years now, 8 or 10 years. I lose track. But I joined that years ago. And then right after COVID hit, Crystal took over as president of the Central Florida Christian Chamber. And after a few years of that, she moved on to launch the U.S. Chamber. And so, yeah, when she decided to do that, we sat down and she says, I hope you'll continue to help me and support me. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. And watching what this chamber has done and what under Crystal's leadership, and, you know, really it's God's leadership. We know and like Crystal, and she's a lot of fun and she's dynamic, but it's God. And we, you know, just watching all of these companies led by strong believers who understand, like I say, you don't have to leave your faith at the door when you go to work. You can, people talk about Christian companies. A company can't be Christian. It's a company. It's the people. And but you can run your company according to Christian values, and and you can evangelize in the marketplace, because people aren't going to church the way they used to. So where else are we going to spread the gospel
That's
if
right.
not in the marketplace?
That's right. And when you said it's people, well, that is why if you are a faith-based professional, your business is your purpose and your mission, 100%. And years ago, you reminded me of this. Years ago, I learned from God. I learned a lesson that everyone in my company, I have to be very careful who I bring into my team, who are the employees, who are the contractors, because my company is a mission. It's a for-profit business, but in God's eyes and in my eyes and how I need to look at it, it is a mission, and to be careful of that. The traditional rules of hiring someone because they are a good culture fit and a good skill set. Yes, and then one more element. Are they a believer? Are we on the same team? So I knew that this would go by so fast. I'm so happy though that we got into audiobooks. It's an important discussion now for anyone that's in the publishing industry or wanting to go into it. I want to end though with one question that I think is so important for people that are watching. And that is, there are so many people that have been told they should write a book. And so many people that are watching that inside, they know they need to write a book, and they need to be motivated to get started. I'd like to hear from you. What would you tell that person that's just on the fence, that, stop, start, have never really taken that step to become a published author? Can you give them some advice?
I think the short answer is, if you're feeling this inside you, then you need to do it. But you need to educate yourself. You need to learn about publishing. You need to learn about writing. You need to figure out, what do you really, really want to accomplish with this book? And there are so many things that business people can do with books that can help them grow their business, that can help them share their message, and share the gospel underneath that process of growing your company. You need to think about what you really want to accomplish with it. And if your goal is to be a New York Times bestseller, then you need to figure out how you do that. But I think when I left the corporate world and started writing professionally, part of what drove me was I always wanted to be a professional writer. That's how I wanted to make my living. I didn't want to get to my deathbed and say, gee, I wish I'd have. So if you're feeling that you have a book in you, then you need to get it out of you. And you don't want to just let the years pass and have the regret of, I always wanted to write, it's like, oh, well, I always wanted to go to Paris, but I always wanted to write a book. You get that book written and know that it will live long after you're gone. It's a legacy. Books are legacies.
They are. And the best advice is don't wait until tomorrow. The best advice is don't wait until tomorrow. And I thank you so much for sharing what you did. I guess we should also say, don't wait until tomorrow, and hire a team to help you.
Exactly.
Hire someone
a good team
like Jacquelyn, work with our team. There's our website there, but don't wait until tomorrow for something that is a desire in your heart and something you know you should do.
Exactly.
Jacquelyn, you are inspiring. I hope that people take a look and grab the Christian Business Almanac. I thank you so much for publishing it, and I'm excited to read it every day as we talked about. And thank you for joining Now Conversations. Have a great weekend. Thank you again, Jacquelyn, Lynn.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you all.